Okay, so before we get into the new lesson, we're going to do a warm-up. So at this point, please pause the video, go to the warm-up section of your binder. If you've been in class with me, I gave you warm-up papers. If not, you're doing it online paper. In the warm-up section of your binder, copy and do. Okay, this is practice for, you're going to have a DSA upcoming shortly. So this is some practice and review of things that we did last week. Okay, pause the video now, go do, and check back for the answers. All right, so at this point, I'm going to assume that you've tried the questions on your own. Let's go through this together. So number one, you should start by subtracting 7 from both sides. I want to isolate this. So we'll get rid of that 7. So we have 2x minus x over 5 equals -1 minus 7. Same sign, so we add and keep. So it's -8. Okay. Now we want to get rid of the fraction. So the fraction is dividing by 5. So we will multiply each side by 5. The 5s will cancel. So we have 2x minus 6 equals -40. Add 6 to each side. 2x equals, that's -34. Different sign, subtract, keep the larger, and we'll divide by 2. That means x equals -17. Number 2. So we have parentheses over here. That means the 2 is going to be distributed. The 3 isn't being distributed, so we'll just bring that down. 3 plus 2 times x, 2x. 2 times -4, -8 equals 7x. All right, so now we have like terms over here. 3 and -8 makes -5. So -5 plus 2x equals 7x. I want to get all the variables over to one side. I'm going to bring the 2x to the right. Subtraction. -5 equals 5x. And we'll divide each side by 5 to get x alone. I mean, -1 is equal to x. All right, so let's get into today's lesson. Today's lesson is about literal equations. So a literal equation is where we have an equation and we want to solve an equation that has more than one variable in it, and I want to solve it for a different variable. So if we look at example 1, right, a equals b plus c. This is solved for a. How do I know that? Because it begins with a equals. So the goal of a literal equation will be to solve for b or solve for c. So I'm rearranging an equation that may or may not have numbers in it. This equation doesn't have any numbers in it. So I want to make this equation start with b equals something, c equals something. Okay? So let's fill that in on our notes. So a literal equation, we want to rearrange an equation or a formula to solve for a different variable. Again, the equation we're just talking about, we want it began with a. We want to make it begin with either b or c. All right. How is this different from solving a regular equation? Your answer won't be a number. Answer will be in algebraic sentence. Like b equals a minus c, c equals a plus b, something like that, depending on what you're asked to solve for. Okay, let's get into actually how to do this. So, number 1, we started talking about a equals b plus c, and we said that it's solved for a because it begins with a equals. Okay, So the question, the directions say solve for b. So we want to make it begin with b equals. So what I like to do is I like to put a circle around the one we're solving for, b. And your goal is to get this alone, get b alone on this, on one side of the equal sign. So in order to get b alone, need to get rid of c. How do we get rid of c? Well, c is being added to b, so the opposite of addition of c is subtraction of c. So we'll subtract c from each side. Okay? Now, on the left side, a and c are not like terms. We can't combine them. We're just going to write that as a minus c equals, of course, these c's will drop out, equals b. Okay, great. So we have b by itself. We want to turn around our answer to begin with b, because the directions say solve for b. So we'll just flip it. b equals a minus c. That's your answer. Okay. In number 2, y equals mx. The way the question's written, it is solve for y because it begins with y equals. We want to solve for m. All right, so in order to get m by itself, we need to get rid of the x. The x is multiplying m, so the opposite of multiply by x is divide by x. So we'll divide by x here and here. So I have y divided by x is equal to m. And just like before, we'll turn it around. We want our answer to begin with m equals, and that's going to be m equals y over x. Number 3, e equals 6d. And we want to solve this one for d. Okay, so we need to get rid of that 6. What is the 6 doing to the d? It is multiplying it, so we're going to get rid of it through dividing both sides by 6. So e over 6 equals d, and again, swap it around to begin with d. d equals e over 6. Okay, number 4, y equals 2x plus c, and we're solving this for c. So in order to get that c alone, we need to get rid of 2x. So the 2x is adding to c, so we're going to get rid of it by subtracting 2x. Okay. Y and 2x are not like terms, so we're just going to write it as y minus 2x equals c, and flip it around. Okay, number 5. So we have 4g equals w. We're solving for g. Want to get rid of that 4. What's going to get rid of that 4? Well, the 4 is multiplying the g, so we're going to divide each side by 4. Okay. And 4's here will cancel out. We have g equals w over 4. And we don't need to turn anything around here because it already begins with g equals. And your last one, x minus 15 equals y. Solve for x. We need to move over that 15. So of course, to move over that 15, we're going to add 15 to both sides. Y and 15, of course, are not like terms. So our answer is going to be x equals y plus 15. And again, it begins with what we want to solve for, so we don't need to turn anything around.